Hi, I'm Pseudonymous Ed, and I'm here to demonstrate the current state of my upcoming primitive technology mod. The purpose of this mod is to add more food preservation and add items that make this food preservation sustainable in the long term. So I'm east of West Point, standing by the Salt River. The Salt River got its name because of the salt production that took place along its banks. For many years, Bullitt County, part of which is on the east edge of the Project Zomboid map, was the largest source of salt production in the United States east of the Appalachian Mountains, until steamboats and the country's infrastructure made it cheaper to get salt elsewhere. But there's still salt there. But before I get to the salt, I'm going to need to forage for some materials. One of the new items I've added to the foraging system is plant fibers, which can be converted into twine. I'll also need other materials to make my initial tools. The first tool I want to make is a new one for this mod, a stone shovel. I'm going to grab the sack and dig some dirt. With this dirt, I'm making clay. Clay is fairly easy to collect in real life if you take a bunch of dirt and water and filter it through something like a sack or a pillowcase. I'm just using a simplified process to create lumps of clay. The first thing I'm making is a clay kiln. Please forgive the placeholder graphics I'm using for many of these items. I haven't decided exactly how I want to implement this kiln yet. The next thing I'm making is the saltwater well. I plan on restricting saltwater well locations to predefined salt licks in the Project Zomboid map. Again, placeholder graphics. I'm also making a campfire. Next, I'm making some traps to collect some kind of meat to preserve. Now I'm going to make some salt using history as inspiration. In the salt licks along the Salt River, salt makers would dig wells and then take the salty water from those wells and put them into large cauldrons over fires. After hours, the water would boil off and they would be left with salt, which they'd dry before exporting. I'm using a simplified version here, filling a cooking pot and letting that cook off. Then we're left with a cooking pot with salt, which with a recipe can be separated into an empty cooking pot and salt. Also, I've added a new item, a spear with a stone tip, because I watched a video of a guy making a spear with a flint tip tied with natural twine. I only made it as powerful as a spear with a spoon, so it's not overpowered. And there you have it, a kind of historically accurate method of generating salt in Project Zomboid. We're going to need more salt for the demo, so I'm making some. Next, I'm going fishing with my new spear, because I want to salt some fish. And now I'm making a clay jar, which I want to turn into a stoneware jar. It's tainted because I used tainted water to make it. I'll see about fixing that bug before I release the mod. For now, I'm firing the clay jar by sticking it in the campfire until it cooks. This is basically the correct process, except the campfire wouldn't be able to get the high temperatures needed to turn the clay into something waterproof. I'll be modifying my placeholder kiln to do something more realistic. With the stoneware jar, I'm making Lacto-Fermented Cabbage, better known as sauerkraut. Lacto-fermentation is an excellent way to preserve vegetables, and it's been used for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. All it takes is the vegetable, salt, and water. No sugar or vinegar is needed. This is the same process used to make kimchi. I personally have used lacto-fermentation on cabbage, carrots, radishes, peppers, and onions. The fermented vegetables can keep for months, and that's what I'm shooting for in this mod. The tainted sauerkraut needs to be cooked to remove the taint like it is for tainted water, but that's a bug. I'll fix that before I release the mod. Lacto-fermentation doesn't require any cooking. In fact, lacto-fermentation is ruined if you cook it because you're destroying the good bacteria that is preserving the food. Unfortunately, I didn't catch any wild animals. The process for salting fish, though, is the same as salting meat, so I'll use that example. When you salt meat, you're protecting the meat from harmful bacteria with salt while also drying it out. Once it's dry, it's preserved. but it's still good to eat before it's completely dried out, so I've combined drying salted meat with dry salted meat. They're both edible, and it isn't going bad for months. And unlike smoking, you can carry around salted fish while it is headed towards being preserved. Okay, thanks for watching this demo. If you have any ideas for this mod, please let me know. I'll be working to improve it before its first release.